Welcome to the Rainmaker Podcast, a show for people who are obsessed with all things marketing. I'm your host, Veronica Rami, certified master marketer, international keynote speaker, workshop facilitator, and the author of a new book called Identity Marketing. Each week, I interview rainmakers from brands big and small to pull back the curtain on what's actually working in marketing today. We dig into real life wins and losses and their very real consequences, and get into spicy discussions of marketing controversies and opposing philosophies. This is the real marketing thought leadership you've been looking for in your ears on demand. This is the Rainmaker Podcast. What does culture and getting it right have in common? And also, how do you define both? This next conversation that I had with Aaliyah Taylor, who not only is she a freelancer, but she is, works at a big company called Adobe in their community events and brand activations department. We had an entire conversation around this. What does it mean for brands to get it right, to really resonate with the people they seek to serve and sell? How do you bring that into an experience that's on-site, in-person, immersive? And how do you do justice to the culture that you're also serving and representing? Which, that's hard. Those are harder, finer lines. It was a really amazing conversation where I think you should take notes. I think there's a couple of points where I'm that upon self-reflection, I maybe I need to define culture differently. Maybe I need to define what getting it right means differently. So without further ado, please welcome my guest, Aaliyah Taylor. Aaliyah, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Veronica. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. I'm really, really excited to peek into your brain. It's very rare that you find these rainmakers in the world that know marketing from all sizes, from scrappy entrepreneurial freelancer to I work at Adobe. What? This is juggernaut, right? So it's really fun to have to converse with somebody that has seen marketing from all the arena sizes. So why don't we start with that? Because for those of you listening who don't know Aaliyah's story, tell me a little bit about your rainmaker story.
Yeah. That's a great question. I feel like my story was honestly born in the wild, right?
Oh, I like this already.
I didn't have a blueprint, no trust fund. I didn't say, okay, I'm going to go to college for this, but I've always had just this big love for culture and showing up in a space authentically. And it always bothered me when I felt like brands or, products that I loved didn't do that well in the space. So I started off by just having a sharp eye again for culture. And then I actually owned my own event space. And that is kind of where the journey started for me. And that really taught me how to build a vibe from scratch and how to plan things. And I just honestly did it because I said, okay, this is a profitable business.
Yeah.
To have a piece of real estate that you can make money off of over and over again by renting it out, it made sense. But in owning that business, I found myself booking clients, and when they would walk through the space with my staff, I would kind of eavesdrop and be like, have you thought to do this for your party or your influencer event or your brand launch? And then I found myself in the weeds actually planning.
Yeah.
Not at all the plan.
Mm-hmm.
But that propelled me to start freelancing and working as a strategist, an event manager, and then a community builder. And then now we're here today, and I am the senior community events manager at Adobe. And I really get to, architect in real life experiences that make me jealous on the internet. So that's always fun.
That's so fun. I tend to drool when I see these incredible on-site brand activations, whether it's, in the entertainment business, when it's a big movie launch, or even just recently, I think Pinterest had this really beautiful collaboration that they did in the festival, right, in France. And so I see all these incredible activations and these immersive experiences and all this really fun stuff. But man, my small exposure to the event world is nothing compared to what you do and have done. But it is so exhausting.
Yeah, Ooh. That's a good point. I think it is exhausting and fueling at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a passion for me.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. And I think Pinterest is definitely one of the brands in my book that gets it
right. That gets it right. Right. Okay. All right. I love that you said that. This is important to me. I want to do two things I want you to define because I want to hear specifically your point of view on this. You mentioned culture, your obsession with culture. Culture is defined differently by different humans. So I want to know what your definition of culture is. And then I also want to know what your definition of getting it right is.
These are good
And
questions.
this is where you can be unapologetic.
Yeah. You know what? I would say my definition of culture is the history or the fabrication of something that is born again
Mm.
different ways, but it or resonates from a certain place.
Okay.
This looks different, across time zones, races, and spaces. For Black people, for example, like Juneteenth in itself is a culture, and that was born in Houston, and then we can translate that to like slavery and the emancipation and how we didn't know about that for years.
Yeah.
But if we go to like, Bali, to them it could look like meditation, and
Mm.
now the new generation is taking that and experimenting with that in different ways. So culture is just anything that is fundamentally born in a place, but we're
Mm.
evolving in different ways. Um, so I don't think it necessarily belongs to one group of people.
That's important.
Yeah, I think that is definitely a hot topic. But
Yep.
I will say the truth, in my mind, I do definitely say people of color have a very distinct pulse on culture. Um, and they spearhead a lot of it that is accepted in the pop culture realm.
Mm.
But that's my definition of culture. And then what is my definition of getting it right?
Getting it right. When you say Pinterest is getting it right, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I think getting it right to me is really knowing your audience and giving them what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And not just knowing them, this is their, not just knowing them like, hey, this is their demographic and they're this age group and they work here and they make this amount of money. Knowing them like, what is driving them? What are they scared of right now? What is their biggest motivation or desire at this time? And then how can we bring that to life? And I think Pinterest does this in such a way where we use their platforms to search things or make mood boards or to find inspiration, but they dig deeper and they say, okay, what are the trends happening next year? How do we get in front of this? How do we bring play into the real world again? And as an adult, play is so important for me because we forget, right? So I would say they have proven to me time and time again that they get it.
Yeah, no, they do get it. So she's been on the podcast. Xanthi Wells, the VP of Global Creative for Pinterest. She's spectacular. I have such a girl crush. It's a problem, but oh my gosh. But it's interesting because you're right. Pinterest, their specific evolution, back to your comment about culture, like it's foundational and fundamental, but it also has space for evolution, right? And so when I think about even Pinterest, their evolution, you got to give it to the generation of, I think she was saying it was Gen Z specifically that like made them wake up. Because my generation being older, I would use Pinterest like project based, right? Like I would use it to my wedding or a baby, the nursery or the kitchen renovation. We would collect these boards around outcomes and objectives and project bases, A to Z moments. And then what they noticed in the product usage was that Gen Z was using it not to achieve anything, but for self-discovery. And they would have boards on the shade of brown, like shades of brown, to see what brown they enjoyed the most. They would also do things like shades. I remember I did a presentation for Burger King and I shared this little story and this girl raised her hand and she's like, I'm like, are you Gen Z? She's like, yes, I am Gen Z. And she's like, I have an entire board on turtle shell, like the pattern that is turtle shell. And so what Xanthi was telling me is like, yeah, what we're seeing is Pinterest isn't so much for achievement and outcome. It's for self-discovery and self-identity, and having that be completely okay to not know who you are, but seek out answers in boards. And that's what's influenced the product where now you can like filter by shade of skin color and you can like all these different things that they didn't have before. And then now to see these activations that they're doing that is in the embracement of you, unique you. They completely changed their entire marketing from, I think there was tagline and advertising campaigns before it was like don't yourself.
Yeah.
And now it's like it's possible. Everything is possible.
Everything is possible.
Yeah, and I think it's to your point, like it's the intimacy with your people. And if you're not paying attention, but I have to say, and this is what I'm really curious because you do work at a Goliath of an organization, a brand, and so does Xanthi. I mean, Pinterest is a big boy, Adobe's a big unit. Like, how do you maintain intimacy at that level of ivory tower?
That is such a good question, because if you get too trapped into the ivory tower,
Yes.
you can stay in your box and get bogged down by the logistics
Yes.
and the numbers and this
Yes.
is how we make decisions. And I honestly do it in two ways. I really try to manage my time where I don't get too stuck in one thing, right? So if I get too stuck in the vision as a creative, I will fail at the logistics. Or if I get too stuck in the numbers and keeping things in the black, I will forget the magic. So I just ask myself day by day, week by week, where is my magic needed right now? And that changes. But the second caveat to that is I attend my own events and I watch how people interact in the wild. I will always find like a hiding place where people don't know I'm watching and see, okay, did this activation work? Did they open the swag bag and did it take their breath away? Are they enjoying the food? Is it melting in their mouth? Really seeing if what you planned behind the scenes in this boardroom work
Yes.
in the
Yeah.
real world. And also, I would say going to other events, right? I love going to other events, the Pinterest, the Nike, the Shea Moistures, and walking into a room and see how they wow me and how they make me feel and expose sensory overload to me. I think I walked into a activation probably like 2 weeks ago and they got everything down to the smell. And I was like, that was so intentional. So being in the wild, I think everyone wants to create culture, right? But are you actually being a part of culture? That's a question you should.
Ooh. That was sizzle. I like that. I like that one. I heard a story recently. Who was it? Jesse Cole from the Savannah Bananas. He shared a story of how Walt Disney, in Disneyland, there is this like what looks just to be like backdrop, mood, whatever, and it's like a fire station in one of the designation pieces of the park. And what people didn't know was that his apartment was on top of the fire station.
Mm,
And he would on purpose, like, man, it sounds kind of creepy when you think about it, but like he would like literally watch park goers from his window to see if they were experiencing Disney magic.
yeah,
And then I know other people will like dress down or like, undercover boss on purpose, to literally immerse themselves to see what the people that they're really supposed to be serving are experiencing. And I know when I was getting trained as a speaker, one of the best advice I ever got was never put the camera on you and watch yourself after the fact. You always put the camera on the people that you're speaking to and watching their reaction to what you're saying. And
that's so good.
that's what makes great speakers, not whether or not you look good in your Spanx. You know what I mean?
And
And so
I like
I
that one so much.
that's a good one, right? And so I think the fact that you immerse yourself in the wild with very intentional observation points, and that is, I mean, that's not the boardroom, that's not a spreadsheet, that's you, and that's not ChatGPT, that's you. That's you doing what you do and seeing the world from your lens, and only can be seen from your lens. So then how do you like, now let's go through the logistics.
Yeah.
So how do you then take what you saw, take your observations, feed it back into the system, back into the boardroom or back into those, conference rooms?
And honestly, that is one of the hardest parts to
Yeah.
be able to translate it across the pond,
Yeah.
especially when measuring things like brand sentiment and human emotion, right?
Yeah.
This is not something that can technically be tracked on a spreadsheet. So
Yeah.
I'll go back into that ivory tower or that boardroom and say, hey, this is working. And a lot of times when things work on a sentiment level, you don't see immediate results. It's something that has to be built. I always say your customers are like a pot of water on the stove. So they have to be warmed up. So it starts with a slow breath and then it boils up and now we're bubbling. Uh, so the way that I really try to do that is number one, surveys, right? We always encourage people to
Okay.
do surveys, but I really tell people, tell me what you loved, tell me what you hated, write it down and let us know. And I really hear your voice. But also I expand and I reach out to my community on a one-on-one level. So that's why I use platforms like LinkedIn or Instagram to connect with people outside of just being this person sitting in Adobe, because you will get some responses from that end and being so engaging with them in person that you would never get by reading the survey. Half the people don't even complete the survey.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Survey response is low.
Yeah, so I take that, I really do take that sentiment back, and I enter community groups. I'm gonna be honest. I join Reddits, I join like creative cohorts here in Atlanta, or if I'm visiting places in New York. And I really like to get into the weeds and see what creators are saying. I've even had my friends ask things like, hey, how do you feel about what Adobe is doing right now? And they don't know where it's coming from, but to see the genuine responses.
Mm.
I love Black Twitter. Oh my God.
Black Twitter.
Is so honest, and they will let you know when you are failing or missing the mark. So it's
Yes,
really that kind of,
that's
I
funny.
would say, off the what is the word that I'm looking for? It's really that kind of unique approach, right?
Yeah.
That I take, that I then bring that information back, and I do take it into the boardroom. I'm like, okay, this is Black. I've literally went into a boardroom like, let me explain to you what Black Twitter is. Okay, this
And
is
they're
Black
like,
Twitter.
what? Yeah.
Yeah, but let's look at that. Let's look at Reddit. Let's look at sentiments, and
Yeah.
this is how you really see, okay, what are they feeling?
That's okay. This is this recently happened. I was a witness to this where a marketing personnel went to a conference, a big conference on behalf as a attendee observer, and it had like she on her own accord wrote this entire summary of all of her observations, key things that came out of conversation. I mean, like the documentation alone, gold star. And then she came back and tried to give it and hand it and like present it to like the product team, or like, hey, like you're building things for the people. I was just a social anthropologist amongst the people. This is what I found, and this is what they said, and this is the confusion, this is the blah blah blah. And it was very discouraging to witness the response, because instead of asking clarifying questions to better understand, it felt like they were asking questions to dismiss, disprove, or debate. And it's like, well, first of all, don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah.
And now I never want to tell you feedback again, because this has been so deflating and discouraging. So I would imagine that you've had great receptivity in a room, and then you've also not had great receptivity in a room. How do you navigate? Because there's one thing to translate and the skill of translation. The other thing is to also be heard.
Yeah.
We'll get back to the show in just a minute, but first, I have a question that might change the way you think about marketing. Is your brand strong enough to be buried in? That's the question I ask in my new book, Identity Marketing. It's all about shifting your marketing from simply trying to sell things to helping your customers become something. Less buy this and more be this. I'll walk you through my 4-step identity code framework packed with real-world examples and strategies you can actually use, whether you're operating in a Fortune 100 company or you're just an intern with no marketing budget yet. This isn't about gimmicks or short-term tactics. It's about building something legendary and, dare I say, eternal. Grab your copy of Identity Marketing today. You can find it at identitymarketingbook.com. Let's get back to the show.
Yeah. Wow, that is, first of all, so relatable, especially product teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've been there.
They have their reputation.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? I think what has really helped me a lot in my career is just realizing that, number one, let me put myself in the product team's shoes, right?
Oh,
They
I
have
love
probably
that.
spent hours bogged down building this product just to feel like someone came back in the wild, right? Even though that is a great resource and foundation, but someone came back to just tell them all the things that's wrong with this thing that they worked so hard on.
Yeah.
So I like
That's really sweet of you. I
soft
appreciate
skill,
that.
and I always tell people, we kind of sleep on soft skills, but emotional intelligence in corporate spaces will get you very far. So
Uh-huh.
I now go into it with my long list, but also saying, you know what, you worked very hard in this feature and this excel with people,
Mm.
but they couldn't unlock it. They couldn't find it. It was buried deep, you know, under this app or this name, or it didn't resonate. So how can we make this better? And I think at first it's really meeting people where they are. It is saying, I see the work you did, and I want to help you, help us make it better. So that is how I now start to enter conversations, because I realize that checklist, although it might be accurate, it just comes off wrong.
Yeah, it can provoke a defensive part, not an open part. Yeah.
I break my back to put on this event and you tell me
Yeah.
all the things wrong. And this has happened to me too in survey
Yeah.
things. You're just like, they're just so discouraged versus
Yeah.
I saw what you tried to do.
Yeah.
I think this is here where we can make it better and take us to the next level.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this. And now we're collaborating.
Yeah. I want to hear more. Again, I'm obsessed. I want to see the world from your point of view and your eyes. Like, what do you feel are some other great brand examples, Adobe included, but like, what are some great brand examples where you're like, they got it right and here's why, so that we can, like, if I was to take notes right here, right now, I want to take notes. Like, what do you think is like top 3, top 5, or some of your favorite?
Well, Shea Moisture at Essence Fest just did Shea University.
Shea Universe, stop it.
Loved it. I think they got it right on so many levels. They got the culture right, but also I just feel like, and I might have the strategy all wrong. This is me guesstimating. But right now, I feel like college is it's a point of tension for Gen Z because they feel like you sold us a lie.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Hard.
Santa's not real.
Yes, Santa's not real.
Yep.
And we are graduating and we are jobless and we are terrified and we are
with
broke.
debt.
So people are starting to reimagine the college experience, and a lot of Gen Z, they're not entering that realm, at least not in the traditional way. But we still want the community that comes from college.
It's true.
We still want the party. We still want the fun. So they came up with this concept that even if you're in this age group, whether you're in college or not, we're going to give you that experience. I think that's genius. And then it also helps with people older, millennials, the next generation above them. They can come in and then it gives you what? Nostalgia if you did go to school. You put on the college hoodie, you get to dance, you get the vibe. They hit it on the mark, and I feel like it really shows that you are studying what people want or what they feel on a deep, deep, deep level.
Well, and the changing sentiment towards formal institutions.
Yeah, because you have to know what's going on in the
If not, you'd be tone deaf.
Yes. And
right?
I feel like brands that play it safe and run from that, like, oh, this is a controversial subject. We're not going to do this. You're going to fail. Because if you are not being authentic, you're just making noise, right? And I think Shea Moisture did a very beautiful example of looking at it head on and taking beauty from this broken part. So the negative is, hey, the institutions are failing and Gen Z feels like this was a lie. But the positive is they still want this community and this experience. Let's give it to them.
Let's give it to them. And the thing that I want your perspective on this as well is, like, at the end of the day too, as beautiful of a sentiment as what you're describing and how they like nailed that feeling, how it's such a fine line between, like, I feel so good, but are you manipulating me? Because at the end of the day, you are for profit business. So how do you do that? How do you create safety, psychological safety, for people to feel seen, with that also then, like, pull out your wallets?
Yeah, I think first of all, that is a great question. And I think where they got it right, when a lot of brands get it right, is, from what I understand, that event it either was an influencer invite or a free event.
Okay.
So by giving people the opportunity to take the barrier of entry down, drop it. You don't have to pay to be here. You don't have to pay to be a part of this. That is giving something to get something. I always like that reciprocity. I feel like in anything good, and then it's not manipulation at that point, because for me to study you, to study your fears, to study your wants, and to bring an event to life, that takes an intention, an emotional capacity that, to me, ties you to your audience, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Now I've had to study you, right?
Yeah.
So some sort of empathy there.
Yeah.
We've left the barrier of manipulation, especially if I'm not asking for something in exchange.
Okay, I love that. But you see how it's a fine line, because had they charged, right, then all of that beautiful, well-intended, customer research is exploitative.
And there and where is the line, right? And you know, and to big companies, let's be honest, sometimes it's the charges. You signing up for this event and I got your data. So now you're in a feed. So you do pay something, but again, that's why I said dropping the barrier of entry, where maybe I don't have to pay for a physical product, but I gave you something that you want that you can use in the future. I got something big in return. I got an experience. I got a memory, So but you're right. The line is
it's hard. That's the one for me. I mean, my specialty is not your specialty, but I I'm always feeling protective over my craft because marketers always have a bad reputation for being manipulative and being these hustlers, and you don't really care. You care to an extent, if you know what I mean. And so I do feel protective over my space. And so that's just something that's always like in the back of my mind, like, where's the line? Where's the line between I care so deeply, but now that I know so much about you, I better be very careful with that knowledge too.
Yeah. And I guess I would love to ask you, where's the line to you? Where do you say, all right?
I think for me, it's like where you'll see me get prickly is around messaging,
Mm,
because part of knowing somebody so deeply, so intimately is saying the right thing at the right moment. And that's great marketing, period. But where marketers start to lean heavily on fear mongering and scarcity
yeah.
and false urgency. We only have 200 seats left of a virtual conference. No, you don't. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Right? So
Yes.
that's where I will get upset, is when I see fabricated urgency, scarcity, fear based messaging, just to get somebody over a finish line, purchase line. Um, yeah, that bothers me because and this is more naive on my, like, I don't want to be in the business of transactions. I want to be in the business of building a relationship. Relationship marketing is my favorite form of marketing. Um, but I see a lot of people who say that, and then they treat their customers like transaction one,
Oh,
transaction
sure.
two, transaction three.
For sure. And I think that's a very good line to hold yourself to as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. Give me another good example. I love examples. I love stories. So Shea University, check, check, check.
In New Orleans, the Jordan brand did this like beautiful, they created basically a beauty store. Um, a old school black beauty store, but they made it Jordan brand. They put like gold hoop earrings on the wall, super oversized, super big with the Jordan logo in the middle. And I love when brands are not afraid to play with their logos in very different ways.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, because especially these big brother companies, the logo has to look a certain way, and we always have to have the same image, and people have to
Brand integrity. Brand integrity. Yep.
and the line is so strict.
Yeah.
And when I see a big brand have fun with it, I know how much it took to get that across the line, number
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
But number two, when they do it and they do it well. So Jordan brand, and also tapping into this all female space with creating a beauty store, sneakers, you kind of don't put those two things together.
Yep. Yep.
Very orthodox. But they knew they were in NOLA, they knew their audience, and they did it so, 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 so well. So well.
I love that. How did, yeah, and that you're right. Cause again, this recently just happened where, some people are more protective over brands than others. Some brands are a little bit more liberal to see their brand morph to its setting, to camouflage, so to speak. And others are like, we will never camouflage. We will stand out always, no matter what. Um, Again, Adobe's not in the business of like sneakers, which is sexy and fun. But like, how do you do that? How do you get Adobe to play outside the lines?
Yeah, oh, that's a good question. I would argue, and maybe I'm biased,
Of
probably am.
course, but I love disagreeing with each other. Go ahead.
Side of Adobe that I am on, I always say it's sexy because we have tons of products, but I am on the Creative Cloud side.
Okay, yeah.
Literally create, Illustrator, Photoshop, Lightroom, things for creators, and
Never mind. That is sexy.
that community is so fun to me. But how do I get them to color outside the lines? I go to bat in the boardroom all the
Okay.
time.
Okay.
And you know what? I do get it being on the side of things because they are so susceptible to lawsuits or just
Oh,
losing
yeah.
integrity, and they have to remain ethical. And it's
Yeah.
so many
Fair.
standards of entry, especially when you have so many different customers, right? So what's acceptable to one person is not acceptable to others. So I'm a big, big emotionally intelligent person to try to understand where is this side coming from. So I think if we're looking at the big brother company, I have a lot to protect. But to me, if I am going to bet to say, hey, let's change this up a bit, I navigate it by number one, making sure that whatever new placement I'm trying to do still
Mm-hmm.
stays true to who the company is.
Mm.
We might tweak the colors, we might make it more exciting, we might put it in a different format, but it still keeps your identity. It's true to who the company is. Creatives, we are fun, we are inclusive. It stays true
Mm.
to that. your fundamentals. So you can't lose a brand's fundamentals.
Yeah.
Then whatever caveat you're offering, right? So if we put your brand, if we put the Adobe logo into a gold hoop earring, why does this matter?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have to enter a room and say, hey, number one, you're speaking to a culture of people who, number one, never thought that you would speak to them in this way, right?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
who wears these earrings? Where did that originate from?
Yeah.
And then also, who was the creator or the decision maker, excuse me, in the room saying this is a good idea? Do they look like the person that you were trying to market to?
Ooh.
Know their experience? Because I think, to me, speaking of lines, that is a line. And I'm not to say that, you can't speak on behalf of a group, or you can't say, hey, this may be their experience. But if you are not a part of that group and you don't distinctly know, I don't think you should be the deciding factor, or everyone in the room should look like you and make a decision on behalf of that group. So I do bring that to the table a lot, especially with my job focusing on bringing culture into Adobe.
Sure.
I am uniquely aligned to speak to this space, to live it, regardless of this job.
Yeah. On a personal note, I struggle with this just because, like, even amongst a particular culture, like, I'm Hispanic, right? Like 100% Cuban, and my parents were born and raised in Cuba. I'm the first kid born in the States, so like guinea pig.
Wow.
But you would never know. I have no accent. I'm pretty light. Like, no one ever goes like, are you Hispanic? No one ever asked me if I'm Latina, but I'm like proud. But then, but even amongst Hispanics, like, Cubans are not the same as Puerto Ricans, although we are island cousins. And Puerto Ricans are not the same thing as Colombians, and Colombians are not the same thing as Spain. Oh my gosh, and Argentinians. And so even amongst us, we fight with each other, make fun of each other. And like, well, Mexicans talk slow, and then Cubans talk fast and ugly and dirty and sloppy. And it's like, so even I think it's so hard because and I had I love my friend Raven. I remember her and another colleague of mine. No, she was actually she was one of my employees when I had my agency. I think we were talking about Barack Obama. I'm like, yeah, the first Black president. She's like, no, he's not. And I was like, I'm sorry. Did I say something wrong? I like instantly you start to panic. You're like, I'm so sorry. Did I say something? She's like, he's our first biracial president. And I was like, see, just those little, like those. And I think it can be, you want to not do the wrong thing. You want desperately not to say the wrong thing. And I think it takes really brave people to stand up for culture. And it takes really brave people to be like, I don't know what I'm doing and I want to support, but I'm also terrified. Like, I don't know if you even want to speak to that, but I just know from my own personal experience, I know the more that I know, the more I realize I have no idea.
No, I 100% agree with you. But I would say the knowing you have no idea, that is the start of something great. Because what it wants you to do is to create a room of people who you can ask and rely on to know other subjects than you. And when the rooms look like that, now we're making good decisions.
Yeah, I love that.
And I feel the same way. I can't speak on behalf of every Black person. You know what I mean? The experience is different. East Coaster is going to feel different than someone else, or someone who originates from Ethiopia or Africa is going to feel totally. You can't. But you have to be able to. And this is a controversial thing that I face till this day. Put the stereotypes on the table and then challenge them.
Ooh, say it again.
Going to do that, like put the stereotypes on the table and then challenge them. That's like saying, oh, all Black men like basketball. No, they don't. But you need those people in the room to say that will make us fail and plummet in market. That's a bad idea. But the room, and it frustrated me when I got to corporate, doesn't look as diverse as it should.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. For many reasons, it doesn't.
Yeah.
But
and my thing is diversity. And I'm not just saying, hey, diversity means put a Black person and a white person in a room. To me, diversity is, do we have a sign language interpreter at this event? What if someone is vision impaired? Do we have TVs in the back for them? Hey, do we have Thai food? Do we have African fusion cuisine for different people, different level of spices? Like, that to me is inclusion.
To your point, this is my issue with demographic marketing in the first place. I just take real issue with it, because even though I am a 37-year-old woman who lives in a certain zip code, who has 2 children, who drives a Volvo, it doesn't mean that I identify in those ways.
Yeah.
Like this was like my whole, like when I wrote my book, this was like my whole big thing. It's like, we are not walking demographics that you can market, even though that's how the advertising platforms work. And so it makes your job easier in some capacity. Like me and someone else are deeply motivated by different things, even though on the surface we look the same. And even for my own like personal story, like I've always identified, and I'm sure on the surface, I've always looked like a healthy or fit person.
Mm-hmm.
But pre my sister's breast cancer,
Mm-hmm.
I would say that I was a fit person out of vanity,
Yeah.
wanting to look a particular way. And now after my sister has gone through like the hardest thing of her life and survived breast cancer, now I don't even have like a weight scale in my house. I literally don't care. It's more like I just want to live forever. So now I'm fit, but it's longevity driven than it is vanity driven. And so even on the surface, I'm still fit and you would target me with Lululemon. It doesn't mean that the messaging of why I do what I do and why I work out or why I eat is the same like it used to be. And that's why we just have to be so careful. And it goes right back to what you were saying about intimacy.
Number one, that is so beautiful, and thank you for sharing that about your sister, and congrats to her.
Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah.
My mom had a battle with breast cancer too, so I feel that on a personal level, and I with you. And the funny thing is that I always say, just because you have, let's say we put a Cuban woman in the room who has a similar lifestyle with you, does not mean that she knows your motivations or desires or fears. Because if I'm looking at you on paper, someone in the boardroom probably tell me, oh, this person probably doesn't like rap music, and you could love it. Or if you're looking at a Black woman, you could say, she doesn't like country music. You cannot.
Look at what Beyonce did. Look at what Beyonce did.
And how many people of color are now out singing country music?
I know. It's wild.
It never happened. But I've known so many Black people that love country music. They've never tried to to us.
Yeah. Well, listen, my Cuban father is obsessed with country music. Like obsessed with country music. He listens to more country music than Hispanic music.
And where's the marketing for that? And goes to
that's funny.
What that saves today every time is go deeper.
Go deeper
than their race. Go deeper than their age. Go deeper than their income. What are they feeling?
Ooh, I could talk to you forever. This was so juicy. I love this. This is such a great conversation. I really appreciate you going even into the more sensitive topics. Like, appreciate you being here.
No,
we do this fun thing on the podcast where you get to put me on the hot seat for the last question.
I can't wait. Okay, I actually do have a question for you.
Okay, and now I'm nervous.
All right, Veronica.
My first name and everything.
Yeah, let's flip it. If you had to build a brand new agency from scratch tomorrow, no name recognition, no Rolodex, no nothing, just your gut and your genius and your Gmail, what's your first move?
Oh, easy. Yeah. If I were to start literally any company, it's like whether it's agency, consulting, this like, and I learned this the hard way. I've tried to overcomplicate business growth and business startup with like all of my diploma bullshit.
Yeah.
No website, no nothing. I literally am taking out my phone and I'm going through everybody who's in my phone.
I love this.
And I'm literally extracting the people who either I can serve directly or they know someone who I can serve. Period. Like I the more that I've been in this marketing arena, this game for almost 20 years, the more I've become a purist. Before there was the internet, before there was beautiful websites, before there was social media, before there was anything digital, there was always just the shaking of a hand with you and another person that cared about you, that could vouch for you. My best salesperson is my father, who will literally HR appropriately pimp me out in every conversation that he's a part of.
Love that.
And my mom, and it's my friends and it's the people that can vouch for me. Like, you want to get a job? Start with your phone. You want to start a business? Start with your phone. You literally just start with your immediate little network and watch what happens. I'm such a 100% without a shadow of a doubt.
Oh, I love that one. I think that's so good and so controversial too. I love that. Start with your phone. Okay, can I ask you another question?
Yeah, of course. You can do whatever you want. Yeah.
So you've been in marketing 20-something years. You've seen it evolve, change. What is one thing that you feel like will never change in marketing? And what is one thing that you feel like is going to change very soon in marketing?
I'll start with the one that changed. So, like right now, I spend anywhere between an hour to 2 hours a day in AI. I can't ever remember a time where I spent that much time in any particular tool in my 20 years. Never. I'm seeing marketing departments being replaced, like almost entire marketing departments being replaced. So is it slightly terrifying? Hell yes. Is it also, and I think this is where shout out, not that I'm like against men. I like am married to one and I birthed two, but this is where I really hope that we have more female voices and more female influence when it comes to AI. And so I really actually like would love for women to really embrace AI and more than just the bros that I keep hearing on the TikTok streets. But so I think the thing that's going to forever change everything to do with anything business in life. I mean, I literally went to like my pediatrician's office with my son, and there was like a little poster that said, "We're going to record the conversation with AI." I'm like, what is happening? Right? So AI is changing the game forever. Hard stop. The thing that would never change, like never, ever, 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 ever change, I genuinely believe this. I still don't think you can outsource social anthropology.
Okay.
And like for us, you and I are like brand anthropologists, marketing anthropologists. Like I fundamentally, no matter how sophisticated AI is, it can never tell me what I feel when I'm in a room. And I just think that like I'm again, in addition to being more of a purist, I think I'm also being more there's just no shortcut for intimacy with your user, intimacy with your prospect, intimacy with your colleagues. Like I've worked remote for such a long time, and now recently I'm going back into this hybrid model, and there's no substitute for having a one-on-one in person versus having a one-on-one on Zoom.
Ooh.
And so
I
intimacy,
agree.
right? So you don't see somebody's fidgeting under their table. You don't see these little things. So I do feel like what will never change between great marketers, great branding experts is the intimacy that they have with the people they seek to serve or sell.
I love that. I couldn't agree more. Oh, I love that. I feel like taking a whole TED talk in like 3 minutes. It's just so good.
Oh, we both did TED Talks because you had some mic drops. That was so good. Where can people play with you and hang out with you and work with you and just like get to know you more?
Love it, love it, love it. First of all, I would say LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Hi, Aaliyah Taylor, Aaliyah Taylor on LinkedIn. Instagram, if you want to see a good picture every now and then. But something near and dear to my heart that I have been putting out and working on is my audio newsletter.
That's so cool.
Thank you so much. So it's a written format, but I'm obsessed with books, and I hate that I feel like, especially in this AI wave, books are going away and everybody wants instant information. So I have created an audio version that's available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and it's really just talking about people, how I believe life is a dress rehearsal. Like we just try to get it picture perfect all the time. And people ask me, how did you get to where you are? And I'm like, I went out there and I just did my best and treated it like a rehearsal, and I didn't take it so seriously. And I want everyone to kind of take a little piece of that, because that set the stage for my whole career. It's still setting the stage, you know. I say yes, and I have radical confidence, even if I've never done something. You know, but that's how I went from events from 30 people to 100 to now we're doing 500 to 1,000 people. You just say yes.
Yeah.
So that's where people can play with me.
Well, and faith in yourself that you can do it.
Yeah. You know, I would say honestly, I have faith in God more than myself, because if it's up to me, I'm gonna drop the ball.
I love that.
Time. But I know something higher than me is carrying me.
Okay, you'll love this. So, I also am a big fan of God. Big fan. Big fan. I am on my phone. One of my phone covers. It's from John 13:7, but it says, "You may not understand now what I am doing, but someday you will." And that depends on the translation, of course, of that verse. But like, it's one of my favorite sentiments of like, his plan is always bigger. Like his dreams for me are always bigger than the ones I can possibly have for myself. And so I love that. Thanks. I really appreciate you sharing that.
No, I'm so sorry. I just thought of another. Can I ask you one more question?
Yeah, of course.
I'm girl crushing now, so this is good.
Okay.
Where is one point in your career where you think that verse applied?
The book. My sister. So I wouldn't, how does it, I would not have written a book had my sister not gotten breast cancer.
Really?
Yep. Yeah. She got diagnosed October 2023, started chemo January 2024. I got the inspiration for the book in spring 2024 and wrote it summer 2024. And only did I write a book about identity marketing because I watched her identity change from not being a breast cancer victim, then becoming a breast cancer warrior, and now breast cancer survivor. But also my own identity, like underneath the surface of like, well, yeah, I'm still healthy and fit, but it's totally different now. Like, and my behaviors are totally, even though I still am active, the way that I treat my body is totally different than I did before because it's differently fed, right? So had she not gotten cancer, I'm not saying that God gave her cancer, so I wrote a book, but I'm just saying had she not gone through that experience, I wouldn't have had the inspiration, the prompting to write the book.
Yeah.
And then the book has now led to this completely different career path for myself in 2025, where now I'm still podcasting, I'm still speaking, I'm still doing facilitated workshops here and there, but I also have like a full-time W-2 job at an ed tech company. So I'm like, what is happening? So like all of that. And if you had told me what my vision was for my 2025 and my vision was for 20, goodbye. Like I wrote it all down and God smiled and laughed. And then I was like, nope.
And I would have never thought a book on identity marketing would have come from that place.
My sister, yeah.
It's so beautiful because it did come from that.
Yeah. So, there you go. It's like, have you ever seen that Instagram where like it's the small Delta plane and it's like, my vision. And then like there's the big, like, like, I don't know, Qantas flight that's like a triple decker that comes behind it. It's like God's plans.
Yep. Literally.
My plans, God's plans. So like, it's one of my favorites. I share that with my friends. I'm like, oh, touche. I could talk to you forever. So again, thank you so much for being on today's Rainmaker podcast.
I appreciate it. I hope we get to do it again sometime.
Yes. Thanks for listening today. If you've loved what you heard, make sure to rate the show, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps us get the Rainmaker podcast in front of more passionate marketers just like you. And if you're ready to transform your marketing from buy this to be this, pick up my new identity marketing book available on my website at veronicarami.com. Until next time, my friends, keep making it rain.